Good afternoon, everybody ready to go? All right. For all of you that don't know, my name is Greg Mashburn. I'm the elected district attorney for District 21, which is Cleveland, McLean, and Garvin counties. Thank you all for coming today. I want to take this opportunity to announce that my decision to not pursue any charges against Rodney Anderson resulting from allegations made by Courtney Thornton. Norman police have thoroughly investigated this accusation, and the detectives have presented their findings to my office. As is common practice in these types of cases, they presented their investigation to a team of my best prosecutors, frankly, three of the finest sex crimes prosecutors in the state of Oklahoma. One of those prosecutors they presented their case to, being my first assistant, Susan Caswell. Ms. Caswell has 38 years of experience and has successfully prosecuted hundreds of these cases during her career. I'm going to allow Ms. Caswell to give you a synopsis of the case that was presented to us by the Norman PD and the findings of their investigation, and let her discuss that with you, and then at the end we can take any questions that you all may have. Ms. Caswell?
Thank you. Good afternoon. I want to give you the information that was provided by the Norman Police Department to our office. On December 4th of 2017, Courtney Thornton reported to the Norman Police Department that she was sexually assaulted by Rodney Anderson 2 weeks earlier, which would have been on November 15th, 2017. The initial information that she gave the police is as follows. She said that she went to a bar to have some drinks and talked with some people. She was introduced to Rodney Anderson and his friends, and she continued to drink with them. They went to another bar and continued to have drinks. She consumed numerous shots and was intoxicated. Anderson gave her a ride home, and they both went inside. They began to kiss, and she went into the bathroom and she vomited. She returned to Anderson and they kissed. Later she fell asleep, and when she woke up, Anderson was gone and she was still sick. She told the Norman police that about 2 weeks later, she began remembering events, and she remembered that he had been aggressive in the sexual activity, which included digital penetration of her vagina. She was asked by the police at that point in time to provide any text messages that might have been going on that evening between her and anyone else, and to try to write down a more complete memory of her events. A few days later, she emailed a written summary of the events to the detective. In her summary, she told the detective that the initial memories were the same, but that the next day she was able to remember that while Anderson was at her house, they sat on the couch and they were shirtless. They engaged in consensual sexual activity. She had a vague memory of digital penetration by Mr. Anderson in the bedroom, but there was no sexual intercourse. That she got sick and vomited. That when she returned, that Mr. Anderson was on the couch and said he had to leave, and they exchanged phone numbers at the front door. She told the police upon inquiry that she did not want the sexual activity that occurred, at least in the bedroom, but she never communicated to Mr. Anderson in any way to let him know that she did not want to do this. She provided police the text messages between herself and Mr. Anderson. There were several back and forth messages that were friendly with Thornton, stating that she had fun and hoped to see Mr. Anderson again. They were friendly back and forth messages between the two of them. They did not get together again after that night. The last few messages sent by Ms. Thornton suggesting that they get together were not answered by Mr. Anderson. Later, she saw Mr. Anderson in a bar, but they had no conversation. After this, she said that she began having memory of events differently and then reported a crime to the police a few days later. During the course of the investigation, a friend of Ms. Thornton contacted the investigating detectives, and she wanted to give them some information about the case. When they interviewed her, she said as follows: that she is very close to Ms. Thornton, and they have been friends for a very long time, and they talk on a regular basis. That she received various text messages, calls, and Snapchats from her on November 15th into the early morning hours of November 16th. That night, Miss Thornton, had called her from the bathroom, and she said she was very excited that Mr. Anderson was at her house. She said that she had vomited but intended to brush her teeth and go back and kiss him some more. She sounded tipsy but not drunk, according to her friend. Her friend then talked with Miss Thornton the next day, and she said that she had had a great time with Mr. Anderson. She described the sexual activity in the living room and the bedroom and stated she hoped they would get together again. She provided intimate details about the sexual activity and stated that she wished she had actually had sex with Mr. Anderson, but she thought he was just being a nice guy. She had being the friend, had multiple conversations with Miss Thornton about the incident and her hopes of a relationship with Mr. Anderson. After about 2 weeks, Miss Thornton said that she was remembering that the sexual contact in the bedroom was not consensual. The police were able to view some of the cell phone messages that were on the friend's phone and to confirm that the friend had accurately portrayed the content of the messages from Miss Thornton. The police also interviewed 2 additional friends of Miss Thornton, and they essentially stated the same information as her girlfriend had already told the police, that it was their understanding that Miss Thornton and Mr. Anderson had a good time and that Miss Thornton was hoping to have a romantic relationship with him. That she then began to brag about the relationship that she was having with him and even indicating to them that she had had sexual intercourse with him. Based on all of this information that we received from the Norman Police Department, we determined that criminal charges are not warranted. And that's all I have.
Questions?
Ms. Hopple, can you spell your name for us?
C-A-S-W-E-L-L.
Is there anything happened to Ms. Thornton, or is she free to go, or any charges against her at all?
As you know, a criminal case has a very high burden of proof, and it is our thought that we could not prove that she was not accurate when she conveyed this information to the police.
Can you talk a little bit about the cooperation with Mr. Anderson during this process?
He has cooperated through his attorney, and in fact, they provided the text messages also between Ms. Thornton and Mr. Anderson to the police.
Did his memory of the night match hers or her friends?
He has not himself talked to the police.
So this happened, they met at a bar on the 15th, and they get to her house in the early hours of the 16th.
Correct.
And she, the next day, says, we had some fooling around, but then later on says that stuff in the bedroom wasn't consensual.
Correct.
Greg, you don't want to leave the impression, I mean, sometimes when you decline, it's because you can't prove it.
Right.
That the guy might have done it, but you can't prove it. But you don't want to leave that impression here.
Well, I mean, I think
He may not
it's
have done anything wrong at all.
it's important to know the whole facts. I mean, there are certainly cases where we just simply can't prove something, and so we will decline due to insufficient evidence. But I think in this case, it was important for us to tell the whole story so that people understand the facts that were presented to us through Norman PD's investigation. And we always want to make sure we want to make sure that sexual assault victims feel comfortable in coming forward and telling their story, right? And we want to make sure that they understand that they need to come tell their story if they believe that they've been assaulted, and we want to have an atmosphere that promotes that, and that they have confidence that if an allegation is made, the Norman police are going to do a very thorough investigation. They're going to look at all the facts, including what happened before, what happened afterwards, and all of the conversations that's happened, so that make sure if we do file charges, we file charges because someone, we could prove those allegations.
So would you characterize this as clearing him?
Definitely charges are not warranted under these circumstances.
Can you tell us what her reaction was after your determination not to file charges?
The detective has been in contact with her just because he's been the one that's been visiting with her, and he's had those conversations with her. And so I'm not privy to the exact conversations, but I know that he has been letting her know kind of the process of the investigation and what was going to happen today.
So did you say you reviewed Snapchats as well as text messages?
Can't do Snapchats.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Snapchats occurred that evening, but those we did not review. We were able to review text messages.
Now, it's under my understanding, I'm kind of ignorant of this, of the legal system, but polygraph tests are not allowed admissible in court, correct? Does that play any impact in your decision to file charges?
Absolutely none.
How does this affect the EPO? Will there still be a hearing on Monday regarding all of that?
You know, we're not a party to that part, so I don't know what'll be the outcome of that.
How extensive was the interviewing, obviously with Anderson, but with the accuser? Is that over a week? Is it one time? Is it several times? How extensive is that interview process?
Police, I believe, talked with her at least 3 times and maybe more, either in person or by phone. And they were pretty lengthy conversations within those.
And then they interviewed 3 friends, correct?
Yes.
This friend that she talked about, that she was talking with this friend and details came out, was it a guy friend or a female friend?
When she initially began remembering,
Yes, she said she
Correct.
said in the VPO petition that she remembered this past weekend, she said at the time, after talking with a friend. You know if that friend was a guy?
yeah, it was a person that she'd been involved in a relationship with. Yes, a male.
A male.
Did the person like confront her or something?
No, it's my understanding that they were in a relationship and they were having a conversation about the nature of their relationship and was it going to continue and was it going to be exclusive, and that's when she began remembering these details.
That was the friend that was mentioned in the detective.
Yes.
That was the first friend interviewed by police?
No.
Okay, that was a different friend that came forward. And it was
Yes.
that friend's understanding that they had not had sex, correct? That they had only pulled around?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You said police did not talk with Rodney Anderson?
No.
Do you know why that was the case?
They communicated through the lawyer.
Did the friends, did you guys reach out to the friends, or did they come to you willingly?
The first friend who had had the conversation with her while she was in the bathroom that evening apparently became concerned, talked with her parents about what she should do. Her parents encouraged her to go to the police, and so she did. And in fact, the second 2 who know each other also came forward voluntarily to give this information.
In the protective order, she noted that she was afraid because he knew where her apartment was. Was there any evidence that you guys found that would support her having cause to fear for her safety?
That would support what?
Or having cause to fear for her safety as noted in the protective order?
I don't believe it at this point in time she should have fear. Now, that doesn't mean she won't, but I don't believe under the circumstances that she should be fearful of him at all.
Well, we don't know what she told the police to begin with. We do know what she put in the protective order, and she said that she first thought they'd just been kissing, and then she remembered more details and that it was a sex, but according to what this friend, she was talking about sex the very next day.
Correct.
So it kind of conflicts with what she said in the protective order.
Correct.
She also said she had become fearful of him in the protective order because he knew where she lived. Did she express, how did she express being fearful of him and why? Just because he knew where she lived?
There was nothing additional to that for her that would cause her to be fearful other than what she perceived his actions to be that night. Nothing additional occurred, if that's what you're asking me, in the next 2 weeks to make her be more fearful.
Can you share the text messages? Can you share with us the text messages?
I have shared them to the point that I'm going to share them.
Can you tell us what bars they were at?
I don't know.
I don't know. I believe they were down in the Campus Corner area, but I don't know exactly what bars.
Has the protective order expired? Or
No.
will it expire since the charges that are not going to be filed?
No, that has nothing to do with our purview. So I think, if what I remember right, there was a temporary VPO put in place until the 18th, until a hearing on the 18th, and that's still scheduled to the best of my knowledge.
Was Mr. Anderson drinking also?
Yes.
Did Mr. Anderson's lawyers or him ever communicate that they would want some pursuit of retribution against her in this case? You guys said it was a high burden to prove if she was lying or if it was worth it. Did they communicate to you whether they wanted that to happen?
I mean, most of their concerns has been just making in my brief conversations was that he just wanted to make sure that the investigators had the information that they had but I haven't, I'm not aware of them wanting to press charges or anything like that against her.
Filing a false police report, is that a misdemeanor or a felony?
It's misdemeanor.
And you filed those.
I think we have,
Yes.
yeah.
In this case, it's not a false police report that she filed, though, right?
Well, look, I mean, we cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she lied in anything. She may very well believe that this incident went further than what she wanted it to go. Okay, and that's not a lie, you know, according to what she told the police. And so, but certainly there's she never communicated that to Mr. Anderson, even by her words. She never told that to Mr. Anderson. But then number two is there's certainly evidence on the other side of that she was happy with what had gone on, according to what she was telling friends the week after. So, but then again, you know, we just can't prove that she's lying, that it went further than what she wanted it to go that night. I mean,
She never confessed or say, like, I made this up?
right? No, not at all.
I doubt it, but have you been in contact with the school? Do you know that there's still anything going on?
Have no idea what that. All right, thank you guys.
There's no malicious intent by the victim.
Right, not to our knowledge at this point.
Well, I mean, the one part of her account, they did end up in her place, and there was some fooling around going on, at least.
Yes.
I mean, Anderson's communicated that to his attorney, hasn't he?
I think what he maintained to the detectives was that his contact with Ms. Thornton was consensual.
Thank you, Greg.
All right.
Susan.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.